First day is all about reflection. I assess from the previous year, and I'll give you some questions around that. I assess from the previous year, did I live into what I had planned last year? And the reflection is really doing some deep inner work, which, Karen, honestly scares some people. And
Mm.
that's another reason I think some people keep saying, I want to do this, but I can't, is because they're afraid what they might actually find.
Do you want to be better with money but dread the math? I get it. That's why this show is not focused on math, the markets, meme stocks, or even economic predictions. It is focused on how money fits into your daily life, from having healthy money conversations to caring for an aging parent. I'm Karen Coyne, certified financial planner professional and your host of Money Without Math. Join us for conversations that are practical, sometimes philosophical, and always fresh. Learn more about me at raymondjames.com/clarity and be sure to subscribe.
I've served on several boards over the course of my career, as well as I've worked for board of directors and have been part of leadership teams and executive teams that have been through the strategic planning process. So I was quite well versed to the experience and the impact of when an organization goes through this process. And not only do you walk away reinvigorated about the mission or the impact or what you're looking to do as an organization, you also walk away with greater clarity and you feel grounded. And there's energy around that. And it was after one strategic planning session that I had this aha moment where, really more, it was like a duh moment. Like, why am I not doing this for myself personally? It's not that I don't set goals for myself and it's not that I don't think about the future, but actually going through a structured process where I look at my personal philosophy. Am I living in alignment with who I am and where I want my life to go? Where do I see myself in 5, 10 years? How do I want my life to evolve? And so, what are the things that I need to do to get there over the next 1, 3, 5 years? And then resourcing. What is working well for me? Where do I need to tap more into? And resourcing, not just financial resources, but energy resources and social capital and things like that. So, really, the epiphany was I've gone through so many strategic plans, and I had this moment where I said, I want to do this for myself so that I can live with even greater intention and impact.
Love it. Love, love, love. So is this an annual thing? Is this an offsite? Is this just you? Is this you? And I forget your dog's name, but what does this look like?
It is an annual thing. And in fact, I will be embarking upon the 2026 strategic planning process in a couple of weeks. I typically do a week during the summertime because in my business, that's where a lot of the speaking engagements, facilitations take more of a pause. And so I have space, literally and metaphorically, to engage in this process. It doesn't have to be a week. I take a week because for me, this is that dedicated time where I take each day during the work week and I focus on something different. So I have, from a structure perspective, I have 4 rules that every single day I start with quiet time. And for me, that is often scripture reading, maybe some prayer, meditation work, some journaling, so that I can quiet my mind and become centered and grounded in this process. The second rule is no social media. None whatsoever. I
Oh
don't
my
pick it
goodness.
up. I go on a social media fast for a week, other than if I need to post something for my business, but I try and schedule that ahead of time. Why? I don't want any additional noise infiltrating this space. So, in addition to social media, it might be I don't check the news. I'm intentionally limiting the sensory input that's coming in. For some people, it might be other things. And I put on my email that I am out of the office, that I'm doing a time of planning and reflection. And so, from an expectation perspective, people do not expect me to get back to them. So, I create that space. So, that's the second rule. The third rule is I spend time in nature every single day beyond my normal training and running outside. So, that could be a walk in the woods, that could be going to a park bench and sitting in the sunshine. I'm intentionally reconnecting with nature because that is also where I find great inspiration and quiet. And the fourth one is I do something creative every day. It does not have to be beautiful, big. It can be little things like I write or paint or I create something or even make a recipe. Why? Because we spend so much time in our heads. And when I have found the most powerful strategic planning exercise is when you engage all of the senses, because that's really where the magic comes from, the ideation and the innovation and the creativity. It's when you can engage the senses. So I start every day with quiet time to ground myself. I limit the sensory input. I spend time in nature and I do something creative. Those are my 4 rules.
And do you have some of that planned out in terms of, for example, the creative of what that might be on the agenda, or is that totally you're rolling with it that week?
I like to do a bit of both. So, from a planning perspective, I like to have some things planned with allowing space for what might emerge.
Mhm.
So, I do know that something creative is I might write a haiku. I mean, anybody can write a haiku. So I always have that in my pocket. I always have, as a very amateur artist, I always have some paints and a little canvas so that that's always there as an opportunity. And I always have a recipe. So I have something to write, I have something colorful to make, and then something that involves food. And the rest, I allow it to come from there. Um, from an execution standpoint, each day is focused on something different. So you asked if it was off-site, on-site, I've done it all, and
Mm.
really what I have found is you need to step away from the day-to-day. So what I don't do is come and sit in my home office and spend the whole day there. Why? Because you're not generating fresh ideas necessarily. You tend to get back into the daily rhythm, and it's way too tempting to check your email and to
Or do
check the thing
laundry
or
or
do
clean the
laundry.
closet or
So I've done things where I have rented an Airbnb for a day, go to a co-working space. Often this is where I choose to go out in nature. So there's lots of wonderful parks near where I live, different forest spaces. I will go super crunchy. I will take my shoes off and I will do grounding walks and I'll take my journal. And so each day I know there's a different focus area that I'm working on, and I will go full analog and I will take notepad, journal, what have you, and go out in nature. I have my list of questions, and then I engage each day in a different focus area. Sometimes I bring the dog, but oftentimes he's a distraction. So I do leave my furry buddy at home.
oh, well, when you said embarking, I thought maybe that was a
That play on words.
Will he be joining you on this upcoming?
Well, yes and no. So I one of the things I love about my soul dog, is well, I love to be outside anyways, he forces me to go outside, so I will take him for walks. So a couple of the times when I go to a park, I will bring him, but also I like to be so fully present into listening to what's emerging. I will leave distractions behind, including my amazing, wonderful, loving dog who looks like a Muppet come to life.
And so you're mostly solo.
I'm mostly solo, yes, yes. And there are times where, depending on what I'm focused on for that day, I might schedule a meeting or a lunch or a connection with someone to explore a particular part of what I'm looking to do. But most of the time, this is me and really sitting with the internal work. And I actually just had a conversation with my husband last night where we're going to, from a family perspective, that week, we're going to spend a couple of days or like couple of hours in the evening talking through from a couple perspective how that integrates into this process. So it is something where
Yeah.
you can do solely for you, but also it can be expanded to include your partner, your family, things like that.
Exactly. I was going to mention that. We've done a podcast episode that was similar but different, but it was
Yeah.
on being intentional as a couple and devoting the same kind of as you alluded to that same energy, focus, intention to get the clarity, to get the connection with your most important relationships, just as you do, the businesses that you and organizations that you're deeply involved in. And I just find, I mean, this is fantastic, and I can't wait to hear more about it. But just, I feel like step one, just getting it on the calendar and
Yes.
saying, I'm going to be intentional and I'm carving out this time, even if it's not 100%. Like the first year, the agenda doesn't go quite, fully analog, for example, or you do end up taking a phone call. I mean, I think just for anyone who's listening who's thinking, oh, I need to do this. Can I do this? I mean, the first step to me is just carving out the time, because so many times I see people where they don't come up for air, and they don't necessarily, make that time to come up for air. And that seems to me the most critical part.
I agree. And it feels impossible at first. And yet, if you were to say to anyone, hey, I'm going to take, and if you can't do a full week, you do one day, but, or 2 days. And
Hmm.
people will often say, oh, I don't know that I can afford that time. But if you served on a board, and you told a client, a peer, anyone else, hey, I'm going to be out of the office today because I'm participating in a strategic planning process, no one would question it. So no one
Correct.
should question it that you're doing it for yourself.
Hmm.
And what I've often found is when someone says they don't have time, it's they've not tried and or they're afraid of what other people will think. If they say, "Hey, I'm going to be inaccessible for the next 24 hours, 48 hours, what have you, or the afternoon for this full week or the morning for this full week because I'm engaging in a strategic planning exercise and I really need to be focused on that." Let me tell you, no one questions it.
Mm.
Every single time I tell someone, "Hey, I'm gonna be untouchable this week. I'm gonna be" "Oh, I wish I could do that." Well, you can. It's just about prioritizing it and quite frankly, not caring what anybody else thinks because
Yes,
you will
right.
walk away with such clarity and passion about your life and where you're going with it.
And if truly you have to connect with people, then maybe, make it work for you. So Wednesday is the day that you're going to check the emails, do the phone calls or whatever.
Right.
Yeah, I definitely think you can make this work. Use Katie's recipe, but zhuzh it to make it work for you. What about tell us about maybe some of the questions. So if someone is
Yeah.
listening and they're thinking, "Ooh, this is juicy. I want to do this. I totally want to do this year."
Yes.
And we're swirling around. What does this look like? What questions are we asking? What's on the agenda?
Yeah. So the agenda for me looks like there's 5 components of it. And again, whether you do this all in one day or I take one each day, I'm going to give you the components and then I'll give you some of the lead in questions. Monday, or that first day, is all about reflection. I assess from the previous year, and I'll give you some questions around that. I assess from the previous year, did I live into what I had planned last year? And the reflection is really doing some deep inner work, which Karen honestly scares some people. And
Mm.
that's another reason I think some people keep saying, I want to do this, but I can't, is because they're afraid what they might actually find. But that's a sidebar conversation. So the first one is really around, I'm going to say, more philosophic reflection. What is my personal philosophy? Am I living into that? And some of the questions that I ask myself is the first one is from a future self perspective. Who am I 1 year from now? Who do I want to be 1 year from now? And once I have clarity around that, what needs to look different in my life or in myself to achieve that state of being? So, if I want to be someone who's more energetic and at peace and grounded, whatever you're describing, what needs to look different in order to achieve that? And the third question as part of that is what mindset shift do I need to make to adopt that
Mm.
future version of myself? So
Mm.
I start with who do I want to be 1 year from now? What needs to shift and what mindset do I need to adopt? Then I move on to what I say is this personal bucket. Who do I want to be in this next season of life? In season, you can define it as a year, 3 years, there's a transition period. But in this next season of life, who do I want to be? And the other question that I ask myself is, what do I want my life to feel like? What do I want my life to be?
Mm.
And sit with that as to what emerges. And so, based on those things about who I want to be and the life that I want to live, then I ask, who and what deserves my time? So, not thinking about what I'm doing now, but truly, if I want to be this person and live this life, who and what deserves my time? So, I'm looking at relationships, things that I do, where I'm investing my time, my energy, my resources. And then one of the hardest questions you have to ask is, what do I need to let go of?
Yeah.
What or who do I need to let go of to make space for that? So, that's that personal bucket. And then from the business side, as an entrepreneur, I ask, and anybody can ask this, whether you're an entrepreneur or you're working in a more traditional role as an executive, or what does it feel like to do work that I love? Not what is the work that I love to do? What does it feel like to do work that I love? And I ask these types of questions to reconnect the mind to the body. What does it feel like in your body to do work that you love? And so out of that, what are the things that emerge? What work emerges as important and reflective of this feeling? So, what do I need to lean more fully into? And through my work, through my business, what is the impact that I'm looking to make? Regardless of the job title or the thing that I hold, what is ultimately the impact that I am trying to make? And so, out of that, what do I need to start doing? What do I need to stop doing? And
Mhm.
what do I need to keep doing? There's that personal bucket. Then I go to the spiritual bucket. So this is from the soul side. So we talked about mind and body, and soul is I like to ask myself this question: what do I need to do to live more simply or to simplify my life? I feel as though we live in a world where everything's overcomplicated. And we get it, at least about me. I get in my head about things. And so to live simply doesn't mean you don't have big dreams or you're working towards things. It's like, let me cut out the noise of what other people expect from me. And what do I want to do to live more simply? What is this season of life teaching me right now? So I'm a woman of faith, and I ask the question, what is the Lord teaching me in this life? Whatever someone subscribes to, they could ask, what is the universe teaching me? What is
Mhm.
life teaching me right now? What is my learning right now? And how do I want to live my life in a way that is aligned with my values? So, those are some of the reflection questions that I go through on Monday. That's just Monday.
That's just Monday.
Just
Stop
Monday.
it.
That's just Monday.
Stop.
But I'm going to pause. Do you want me to go on to Tuesday, or do you want to explore that
Wait,
reflection a little
I was
bit?
thinking like this was Monday, Tuesday,
No,
Wednesday, each one following a theme. Oh my gosh, you're a
no, that's just
classic
Monday.
overachiever. No, please keep going because
Okay.
I'm just going to be astounded by what you get done on Tuesday. I'm still in
So,
Monday.
those are the deep reflection
Okay, wait.
questions.
So
And
hold on.
yeah. Yeah.
So one, no, one was just the reflection, then
Yeah.
personal, business, spiritual. Was there a fifth component?
Okay. So the reflection is my future self. There's the personal part of me. There is the business or work or career part of me. There is the spiritual part of me. And then there are some things like you can ask, what do I need to take my next steps? But and what a wonderful tool, which I'm sure you are familiar with, Karen, but I will often use for myself is, have you heard of the Wheel of Life, where you assess yourself in the 8 different domains of life?
Yes.
Okay, that is a great tool. If someone's like, oh my God, I don't even know where to start, you can find free versions on the internet. You just the wheel of life, and you honestly, this is the key, is not what sounds good because you're not trying to
Mm,
impress anyone. It's
right.
being fully honest with yourself. How would I assess myself in these 8 to 10, depending on the wheel, different dimensions? My relationships, my hobbies, my education, my career, my financial health, my physical well-being, my spiritual well-being, my emotional well-being. And so I will often use the wheel of life
Hmm.
first
Okay.
and truly assess myself in that area,
Yeah.
and then go to these different buckets as a deep reflection. That's Monday. And the reason why I don't try and shove this all into a day is, man, you got to sit with this stuff and let it marinate, and things bubble up that you don't expect. And so I sit with that reflection, and I truly am meditating on it through the rest of the course of the day. So that's
Mm.
day 1. Day 2 is, this is where I do my personal strategic map. So this is a one-page snapshot of some core elements. At the foundation is, I revisit, what is my purpose in life? And I have a specific, in Japanese, we call it the kokurazashi, or personal mission,
Mm.
where who you are as a person intersects with the impact that you want to make. So what is my purpose in life? And I always revisit that, because to me, that is the foundation upon which we build everything. And then the next question that I ask myself is, who am I? What does my life look like 10 years from now? If I were to dream big, truly, what do I want that to be? And I spend time from a visionary perspective. And then I look at what are the key strategic imperatives. So you can think of it like you're building the Parthenon. You have the foundation of your purpose, the vision of the roof of where you're going. And then you have these grand columns of particular areas that you know are going to be important to you in order to achieve that. There could be a financial component of this. For me, one of the goals in 10 years is I want financial freedom. I don't want to ever stop working, but I want to be in a position where I don't have to work.
Yes.
So in
Mhm.
10 years, I would love financial freedom. That could be a strategic imperative. Another way, if that sounds too like corporate-y, a marathon goal. Like
Mm.
it's a bit, we're in around a marathon. This is a long-term thing of where I think I'm going to go. How about from relationships? And so you pick your different pillars. You'll find the different focus areas. I will certainly have one that is my business component of it. It could be your career, where I want to live more fully into it. So then I map out the marathon goals. And then I say, okay, what do I want to accomplish in the next year to move me one step closer? And
Mm.
that's where you can set your objectives or your 1 year goals within that. So I draft out the strategic map. As part of my strategic map, so that's one tool, I have two other tools that I use that are important to me in this process. One is a strategy screen, and one is a life's board of directors. So, a strategy screen, if you don't have one, they're awesome. They're 10 questions that reflect your life, your like what's valuable to you, your goals. And these are questions that anytime you have a big decision to make or you're contemplating moving into an area, you run it through your strategy screen. By the way, all of these things, this is what I do with organizations when we do strategic plans. So things like, does it honor, again, I'm a woman of faith, does it honor the Lord? Another question that I'll ask is, does it support my relationship with Sean? That's my husband. Does it help me live into my core values? Does it help me advance my purpose? Is it the best use of my time, talents, and treasures? Do I have capacity for it? And if I don't, am I willing to make room for it? I have a bunch of other ones. My favorite one that most people love is it a soul deep hell yes?
Mm.
Like, there's a lot of things where you're like, that sounds good. But in my soul, can I say, like, it's a hell yes?
Right.
So
That's
if
a
that
great litmus test I found. Like, right, I've heard if it's not a hell yes, it's a no.
Exactly. If it's a hell yes, then it's a no. And so that's a strategy screen. And then your life's board of directors. Every
Mhm.
organization has, well, almost every organization has a board of directors. Why? Because you need people to speak into direction, different expertise, different resources. They push you, accountability. If you don't have a life's board of directors, you should get one. So I revisit my life's board of directors and update that. So that's Tuesday.
I need snacks. This is a lot. I mean, I hope there's carbohydrates, sugar in every form,
Um,
protein.
there's lots of caffeine and carbohydrates in my world.
Oh my god. I run on carbs, and I would need so many carbs to get through day 1 and day 2.
Same.
Okay.
Right. So that's day 2. I can make day 3 through 5 be a little bit more compressed so people don't freak out. So day 3 is now that I've really spent time in deep reflection and I have a strong sense, a good structure about what I want and where I'm going. Day 3 is about assessing. Let me assess now these different core areas of my life and what is working well for me, whether it's my podcast, whether it's learnings that I'm doing, education is where I'm investing my time, talents, and treasures. Now it's really the assessment. So I have this thing to measure by. What am I doing right now that is in alignment and what's out of alignment? And you have to get really ruthless. Like there are things where you're going to have to, even if it seems like it's going well, it's time to end it because I need
Mm,
to free up capacity for something else. And so you're doing this assessment as to, I'm using like a rose bush analogy. When a gardener goes and prunes a rose bush, you're looking for three things. You're looking for the dead stuff that you need to cut out. You need to look for the stuff that's maybe not great, but, is working okay. Time to cut that out. And what might even be healthy buds that you need to cut because you're trying to free up resources. And so that's what you're doing with your life is assessing, where am I investing my time now? Is it in alignment? And then that day 3 is also about new ideas. Ooh, okay. Like now that I have this structure, what are new ideas that are coming to mind for myself, for my life, for my business? And so that's where it's this tension between cutting things out to make space for what's new. So that's day 3. Do you want me to pause?
You're such a natural. You knew that we needed a beat there. I mean, this is so good, Katie. Did you pull a lot of this from, I mean, directly from the work that you've done with corporations, with organizations, and then just tweak it as you go?
Yes. So I have done a couple of different things. The majority of the exercises that I take myself through, the tools that I use, have come from specifically things that I've developed to do with organizations, and I've adapted them to personal use.
Hmm.
In addition, there is some other wonderful things out there that I have utilized now and then that are helpful tools. I'll give one example. And again, it's a free resource that people can look online. It's called the Year Compass. So if someone feels like maybe this feels, oh my God, this is too overwhelming for me to jump into, and I need something maybe a bit more simple and already structured out, there is I think they were developed out of the Netherlands. It's an organization that created what's called the Year Compass, where you can do it at any time. You look at your previous year, it takes you through some reflection prompts, and then it asks you some prompts about the coming year. And it's this workbook that you can go through, analog or digital. It's in like 30 different languages. And so that could be a wonderful tool for people to use to guide them. So,
Okay.
yes, I've used tools from organizations that I've worked with, and then I've pulled in some other fun things along the way.
Perfect. Okay, perfect. Okay, yes, I'm dying to hear the rest. And just a reminder for anyone listening, you can use whatever you want.
That's right.
Use whatever you want. You don't have to do it exactly the way Dr. Katie does it. So keep listening because there's even more good stuff.
Yeah, and that's I think if there's one thing that I have learned through this process is there's no right way to do this. The most important thing is that you've made space for it.
Yes.
And truly, and I mean not just calendar blocked it, but you've actually made space in your mind for it too.
Mm,
And you've sat with those questions and really answered them truthfully for yourself.
mm,
So, if there's 3 questions that anybody could start with, who do I want to be in this next season of life? What do I need to what do I want my life to look like? And based on those 2 things, what do I need to keep doing? What do I need to stop doing? And what do I need to start doing? That in and of itself will be an incredibly powerful exercise. And the what also means who, relationships as well.
right.
So the rest of the week for me looks like Thursday is all around messaging, personal branding. And that sounds, personal brand sounds so ill, like influencer. But what I mean by this is if you have clarity around who you are and the impact that you want to make and what you want your next steps to look like, you have to talk about it.
Mm,
You have to put that out into the universe. So, how do you talk about it? Who is your audience? What is the impact that you want to make? Whether it's within your company, with your clients, within your community, like there are next steps that you have to take. And so, Thursday is very much around how do I talk about this? How do I align my resources? What resources do I need? Depending on a new idea, you might need to go find a partner for it. You might have an idea where you want to start something. And so Thursday is all about messaging. So day 4 is all about messaging and resourcing. So, what is the capital that you might need, the social capital, the financial capital, whatever that looks like, the philosophical capital, how do you align those resources? And then Friday looks at actually taking the steps. So day 5, doing some of the work, setting up the appointments, time blocking, whatever the things you walk away with that are like, this is really important in my life. That day 5 is all about doing. So we don't start doing anything until day 5.
Mm.
But if you don't create any space for you to start doing some of these things, then what ends up is you end up with a pretty little plan, and then your week starts or your next day starts and you're right back into it. And then it sits there for 2-3 months until you're like, God, I got to get back to it.
Yep.
So you have to create time to at least start the momentum.
That's fantastic. And I'm curious, can you share any real world impacts, anything that's come out of some of these planning sessions that were wins that were a direct result of this planning process?
100%. I started my business because of it. So I
Mm.
started this strategic planning process when I was a corporate executive, a chief communications officer at a regional government agency. And I felt a wrestling. My soul was longing for something more, and I didn't know what that was. And it was that year that I had that epiphany of we had just gone through a strategic planning process. I should do this for myself. And that's when I walked away with, who do I want to be in this next season of life? I had all of this description. I said, what do I want my life to feel like? And part of that from a personal side is my husband and I wanted to build a life where we could split our time. We live on the East Coast, where we could split our time on the East Coast and our time in Sedona. I wanted more freedom to travel, to explore. And so I needed to shift from a career perspective to support this type of lifestyle. And so out of that birth this idea of become an entrepreneur. Not
Mm.
everything has to be that grand, but that is a very profound example of a life shift that happened because I took the time and space to do that.
Fantastic. Love it. I mean, this is, I hope anyone who's listening, like we've said a couple times now, if nothing else, try a day, try half a day, try it 5 minutes. But the key is be present, be grounded, be ready to be super honest, radically honest. And then you can always build on it.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll share links to your stuff. We can, I don't know if you talk about any of this in like blogs or anything that you've written, but if so, we can share those in the show notes. Also, I just, I shared with you recently when we were having a conversation that I was speaking with a client of mine who turned 80 recently, and she said she is having a growth spurt. She's doing all kinds of, inner reflection and some of the things that you touched on, and she's coming at it in a different way, maybe not necessarily a planned strategic retreat, but the common denominator is that the intentionality is there, the grounding is there, the energy is there, the focus and the spiritual elements, all those things are there, and she's pieced it together in her own way. So, just a reminder that we can all put our own spin on it, whatever works for you, but the key is that you are making time to do this reflective work, because it won't happen by itself.
No. And if I can leave with one thing, that the ultimate result of years of doing this is that I am absolutely in love with my life. I am madly and deeply in love with my life. Life is still hard. It still lifes me. I'm not saying you get away from grief and pain and challenge and trials and tribulations, but I am deeply, madly in love with my life. And I only got to that point because I've chosen to live it with intention. And that's really the profound result of this process, whatever it looks like for you.
Mm. Well, I can't add anything to that. That's a perfect place to wrap. So
Da-da-da-da-da-da. See, there you go. Doctor in the dork.
smart and sparkly. Dr. Katie Sandoe, thanks so much for joining us today.
Oh, thank you, Karen. It was a real joy.
Thanks again for listening. Please follow us on Spotify if you're not already, so you don't miss any future episodes. We'd also love for you to rate the show while you're there. Connect with us on social. Search Karen Coyne CFP on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube. If you have feedback or if we can be of service in any way, please let us know. And now for the standard disclosures. Any opinions expressed by Dr. Katie Sandoe are not necessarily those of Raymond James. Raymond James is not affiliated with nor endorses Dr. Katie Sandoe. This podcast is for informational purposes only.